Agradecer todo mundo aí que contribuiu aqui, tá aqui a bicicleta. Gostei muito, vai servir muito pra mim, botar uns lanches aqui pra vender. Quero agradecer a todos vocês aí que tiveram um bom coração aí e fizeram a parte aí de vocês. Que Deus abençoe todos vocês em nome de Jesus. Vai servir muito, muito obrigado. Valeu!
Just look at him. Humble, smiling, thanking someone for a bicycle. But press pause, because the man you see here would soon unleash one of the most terrifying manhunts in Brazilian history.
To understand the end, we need to go back to the beginning. Lázaro Barbosa was born into the dust and scorching sun of Barra do Mendes, deep in the countryside of Bahia. Far from TV cameras, his childhood was shaped by a cycle of domestic violence and abandonment. Accounts from neighbors and relatives paint a disturbing picture: an alcoholic father, constant fights, and aggression that Lázaro absorbed like a sponge. Since he was a boy, he didn't seek refuge in people, but in the wild. The Caatinga was his backyard, his school, and eventually his hiding place. It was there, among thorns and rocks, that he learned to survive where most would die. The wounded child grew up, yet the scars evolved into something far darker.
June 2021. Brazil came to a halt to watch one of the largest manhunts in its recent history. He wasn't just a fugitive, he was a ghost. A man who knew every stone, every ravine, and every hiding place in the Goiás Cerrado. For 20 days, a task force of nearly 300 officers, helicopters, and cutting-edge technology was challenged by a single man. His name became synonymous with panic: Lázaro Barbosa. But who was he? A lone psychopath? Or a pawn in something much bigger? It all began at dawn on June 9th. What seemed like a robbery at the Vidal family's ranch in Ceilândia turned out to be a brutal massacre. Lázaro invaded the property. Claudio Vidal and his two sons, Gustavo and Carlos, were killed with gunshots and stab wounds. They tried to call for help, but it was already too late. But the terror didn't end there. Cleonice Marques, the mother, was taken hostage. Her disappearance mobilized the security forces. Days later, her body was found in a creek. The brutality of the crime shocked even the most seasoned forensic experts. It wasn't for money, it was for cruelty. And that's when the hunt began. Lázaro fled to the region of Cocalzinho de Goiás. What followed was a cat-and-mouse game. He didn't just run, he terrorized. He invaded other ranches, took hostages, forced victims to cook for him and to prey. He stole cars and set them on fire. Police set up a massive operations base: thermal drones, helicopters, federal police, civil, military, and highway patrol. But Lázaro had an advantage. He was a mateiro, a man of the bush. Raised in the backlands of Bahia, he knew how to survive in the wild like no one else. He slept in treetops, walked through riverbeds to avoid leaving scent trails for the dogs. It seemed he was always one step ahead. But what drove Lázaro Barbosa? The press and police began digging into his past. They uncovered an extensive criminal record dating back to 2007. Murders, rapes, robberies, and spectacular prison escapes. Reports of rituals began to surface. Lázaro supposedly carried a black-covered book and claimed to have spiritual pacts that made him invisible. Fear in the rural population turned into hysteria. He wasn't seen only as a criminal, but as a malevolent entity. Forensic psychologists pointed to an impulsive psychopathic profile, yet extremely adaptable. June 28, 2021, the 20th day. A tip led police to the home of Lázaro's former mother-in-law in Águas Lindas de Goiás. This time, the net closed. Lázaro was found in a nearby forest. According to the police report, he did not surrender. There was intense fire gun. More than 125 shots were fired. Lázaro was hit multiple times. he was aided and taken in a patrol car, but arrived at the hospital dead. In the streets, people applauded the passing police vehicles. The relief was palpable. The monster was dead. Lázaro's death ended the manhunt, but not the questions. In his pocket, more than 4,000 reais were found. The investigation suggested he was not acting alone. A local farmer, Elmi Caetano, was arrested, accused of giving shelter and food to the fugitive. The police theory shifted. Lázaro might not have been just a madman loose in the woods, but a jagunço, a hired gun used to terrorize ranches and devalue land for real estate speculation. With Lázaro's death, and months later Elmi's death from a heart attack in prison, many secrets went to the grave. The case of Lázaro Barbosa exposed the fragility of public security and the power of fear. It was 20 days that tested the limits of an entire region. Today, the forest has gone silent again, but the story of how a single man paralyzed the heart of Brazil will never be forgotten.